Podcast.
Scott Beebe with the Business on Purpose Podcast, our YouTube channel. You can check us out on Facebook, My Business on Purpose as well. Hey, I want to let you know something super fast. We've got a webinar coming up here in about just a few days, and a really, really exciting webinar. If you go to bopwebinar.com, it's bopwebinar.com. Let me show you this other display so you can see this here. And I love the title of this thing, Throwing Your Marketing Dollars Down the Toilet is the question we ask. And we're going to be talking about this. So excited to be able to bring this. The irony is we hate marketing, not because we're against it. We actually think it's an incredible tool, but we've just never been good at it. And so we've been processing our way through this, and we're going to be able to share those with you. And I'm really excited to be able to do that. Hey, I wanted to share with you a story that just happened this past week. A couple of nights ago, my boys and I, we actually went to do something that we love to do all the time, and that is camping. And there's a local place here that we like to camp. And so a couple of their buddies, we all went to the small island, a nearby river, and camped for the night. River Rat Island. It's a self-named by a group of local friends, and it's a really surreal place. Probably the size of a football field or two or something like that. And you can see what these boys do when we're on the islands, packed with historical live oak trees, towering pines, and these stalwart palmetto trees. And one night, while we were camping, we heard a pack of wild coyotes just screaming and crying, and it was so bizarre to hear all of this noise. And this past trip, around 5 o'clock in the morning, we heard what we think could have been the very last breath of a raccoon as a predator probably swooped in under the cover of dark. And during a dinner of hot dogs and chili, believe it or not, these are teenage boys, we opened Ernest Hemingway's Old Man in the Sea and began to read of Santiago's adventure into the deep waters off the Cuban coast in search of, quote, the big fish. And so I read for about 10 minutes, not long, all right, 10 minutes, and then we just sat for a while around the same fire we used to cook dinner and those hot dogs and chatted about really nothing in particular. It was quiet. Now, at home, the boys want to stay up as late as possible, right? Most teenage boys do. But out on the island, they're ready for their hammocks around 10 o'clock at night. Like they are ready to go to bed and just chill out because they're relaxed. They're calm. These are teenage boys, all in the prime of their time, wanting to stay up late and do all this stuff. And so we're reading Hemingway at a 10 p.m. bedtime, not because I'm mandating it, but because that's what they want to do. Why the shift from a typical teenage story of wild nights and tech obsessions and a lack of motivation for learning and all those things that we hear about? Well, I'm convinced that quiet and solitude forces souls, yes, young souls and old souls, into a place of health and necessary contemplation, rest, and intentional thought. You can, when we're out camping on that little island in the middle of this river, you can literally feel your soul recharging in the moment. Anxiety begins to kind of lose its grip. Our addictive escapes, those things that we lean on to numb ourselves, those things aren't as tempting. And exhaustion can easily be defeated in the darkness of the night when you're just quiet. It's one of my favorite writers, one of my favorite quotes. C.S. Lewis, who wrote a classic book, Screwtape Letters. If you've not read it, it's a great book. And he writes of this devil. His name's Screwtape, the devil. And it's the lead devil who's leading all of these other little devils. And he lays out, C.S. Lewis does, the kingdom of our common enemy. And he calls it the kingdom of noise, the kingdom of noise. And he declares with this dark cunning, and he says this quote, C.S. Lewis writes, he says, noise, the grand dynamism, the audible expression of all that is exultant, ruthless, and vile. We, the demons, will move the entire universe, noise, to the end. These boys, while we're out camping, we're in this environment of peace and calm precisely because of solitude. They're not isolated, but just quiet. In the quietness of simple surroundings, we were able to talk and laugh and read and listen and observe, and we were even able to sing. Well, they didn't really sing. I had my guitar. I'm not that good. I can't sing that well, but one of my favorite songs by Robert Earl Keen, Mariano. It's one of those songs you can just play on an island. You sound really bad. You can't strum very well, but it's just nice to be out there. Isolation when we're out camping would have led to loneliness, but solitude, ironically fed community and health. And so as the global pause button that we now know as COVID-19 continues, it's important that we grow in our ability to find and sit in solitude. Some of the great leaders of our time have found places of solitude. Jesus himself regularly retreated from the noise and the crowds, especially when his time was most in demand, into solitude. And so many of the great artisans and movement makers of our current and past societies have shared this habit of retreating and creating space for solitude. Pablo Picasso wrote this, or mentioned this great quote: "Without solitude, no serious work is possible." Without solitude, no serious work is possible. So my question to you is, have you built time for solitude into your weekly schedule? Because without it, the work, the important work of your business, the work that we're trying to free you up from the grip of chaos to be able to do, is just simply not possible without solitude. So as business owners, we must work each week to create times of solitude so we have margin from the daily grind of reports and billing and level 2 dashboards and creating and marketing and job roles and all those things that we need to be doing. Making solitude is more important than making your widget. I want you to make sure you heard me correctly when I say that. Making solitude is more important than making your widget. Make sure to go check us out, bopwebinar.com. It's free. This coming Tuesday, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. Are you throwing your marketing dollars down the toilet? We're going to talk about that. We're going to build an incredible process for you to be able to build within your business, any business. You could be selling ice cream, landscape supplies, I don't care what you're selling. But we're going to stop throwing our marketing dollars down the toilet. And you're going to learn from a guy who's not that great at marketing. So we're not going to talk about strategy. We're going to talk about process, the system of marketing. This coming Tuesday, bopwebinar.com at the time of this recording. If not, you can check out bopwebinar.com to see our latest and upcoming webinar right here on the Business on Purpose platform. Hey, thanks as always for joining us. Hope you have a great week, and I hope you find some time for solitude. Take care, everybody.